Howdy and welcome to the Mighty Muddy Chuck Show. I'm Charles Peters, also known as Mighty Muddy Chuck or just Chuck. Making a wire panel. Sometimes on the ranch we use these 16-foot long cattle panels, and they're good, but what I wanted was panels with a smaller wire and a smaller panel that could more easily be moved around. The cattle panels are perfectly good for some things. It's when you're patching fences up and all. With horses though, one thing you have to be careful about is the horse will take their hooves and over a period of time they will start pounding a cattle panel into where it's nothing but a mess. And we keep electric wire at the top of our fencing. In other words, we don't just depend on the bottom fencing, we also have the electric wire at the top of the fencing. But the horses will take their hooves and they will tear the panels down. Any fence that's got too big of square in it, the horses, if they can get their hoof in it, they will beat it down. Okay, to start with, as I'm building the wooden panel with the fencing, what I'm doing is I'm putting a block on one end of the fence. Now this is a piece of fence that's left over, so I'm not having to fight with this huge roll of fencing. This is the fence is left over, and it happens to be about the right size. It's a little bit too long. In other words, I'm going to end up with some scrap, but you know, you're always going to end up with some scrap. That's just the way it works. That is just the way it works. Okay, I didn't measure anything because there was really no point in measuring it out. You take the piece of wood that you're going to use, that's your measurement. You're going to use a full 8 piece of wood. And I was a little bit short when rolling it out, so I have to roll it out a little bit more, but that's quicker than measuring it. So you take the wood, you slide it under the fence. Of course, when you put one the other end's going to pop further out. That's the way that works, always. So you kind of adjust it, and at some point you'll go back and you'll take your foot and you kind of line it up and push it. You ease it till eventually you get it worked where you want it. Okay, this is where I'm showing the staples that I used to make the panel. Now I bought the wrong size staple for the 1.5 inch. That's what I'm explaining there. I bought 7/32 inch rather than the 1/4 inch crown. The 7/32 inch crown will work in this particular staple gun, though it's designed for the 1/4 inch, the 1/4 inch. The 7/32 will work in it, but when you use the wrong size crown, well, of course you can't use a too large a crown, you can use a smaller crown. But even using a smaller crown, you can end up with misfires, or where the staples will mess up a little bit. That's the problem with using the 7/32 rather than the 1/4 inch crown. Okay, there I'm showing the 1/2 inch staple, and it has the 1/4 inch crown. It's the right one that's designed for this staple gun. In some of the reviews you'll see where people said this particular gun misfires. I suspect they're using the wrong size crown, but I don't know that. Okay, this is where I'm showing the 1.5 inch. Now the 1.5 inch, all I'm going to use that for is when I'm putting the wood together. I'm not going to use that when I'm putting the wire to the wood. I use the 1/2 inch staple when I'm putting the wire to the wood because that's all that's needed. On one of the panels I built, I actually did use the longer one, but it just had the staple sticking down the back side way too long. Okay, there's where I'm putting the battery in. It's not hard to do, but I always end up having to fiddle with it. It's just the way it is. And there I'm explaining where the safety mechanism is. And I've got the 1/2 inch staples in the staple gun. As I'm going back and readjusting the wood while I've got the wood laid out. I'm getting it in place. I use my foot to kind of push the wire down, though I'm going to have to go back and use my hand to kind of adjust it. I got it down and I start stapling. Now on the corners you want to put plenty of staples in the corners because it's in the corners that you're more likely to have problems with the wire working its way loose over a period of time. The corners are important. You want the corners stapled. You want it all stapled good, but the corners you want to pay particular attention to. Now on this you may notice I'm kind of going in a row, which is not the way you really want to do it. I went back and put some additional staples in. You kind of want to, you want the wire to be tight at the top, but you don't want to line all your staples up. You kind of want to, you know, just like when you're nailing, you don't want the nails straight in a straight line. You kind of want them, you know, at different places in the wire. It makes it less likely to work its way loose. They're all lined up, you know, one gives, and like when the goats are pushing in the wire, they might all give at once. But if you don't have them lined up, it can still happen, but it's less likely to happen. So I'll just continue showing me putting the staples in the wood. Next section. Okay, here I am continuing to put staples where I staple the wire to the wood. I kind of fast forward a little bit because I'm sure you didn't watch every staple put in the wood. I'm getting back toward the other corner. I didn't show, but I've put plenty of staples in the corner, of course, like I mentioned earlier. Okay, now I've got another 8-piece of wood. I'm just using now 8-foot 1x4s, and they're less than $2. So you know, I'm just using cheap wood here. Kind of makes it a little bit on the flimsy side, but it works. Now, like if I was doing it for the horse panel, I'd use heavier wood, more stout wood. Okay, now start putting the bottom wood in place beneath the wire. The wire's on top, the wood's on bottom. That's thought I mentioned. Chuck, we know that. Oh gosh. Okay, I kind of skip forward to the end because there again I need to watch me putting every staple in place. Okay, there I'm showing what I'm going to use to cut the wire, the extra length of wire away from the panel. Actually it can be used as a bolt cutter. You may want to use your small wire cutters, but I find that that's easier to use where I can, especially where I'm doing it on the ground, where I can just use it standing up and I can cut it. One thing you want to do is you want to make sure that you stay in the right row, because it's really easy if you get distracted right there to start cutting in the wrong row, and then you end up with a jagged situation. But anyway, I use the bolt cutters to cut the wire. But like I said, you can use your small wire cutters. I mean, the bolt cutters are a little bit on the heavy side, but to me it's fine. Okay, this is where I'm measuring out the 8-piece of wood that I'm going to cut in half so that it'll be in 4-foot sections. I am showing myself measuring the wood. I am now marking the wood. Okay, I now have my jigsaw and I am cutting the wood. And you may see my feed in the background. I still got to go in the next couple of days and get some more feed. It takes a lot of feed for horses and goats, especially when you don't have good pasture. The goats have got decent pasture, but the horses don't. Alright, and you may want to use saw horses, you know, to do that. I just do it off the side of the barn. My saw horses are tied up with something else right now, so I didn't have them conveniently available. I guess I could buy some additional ones, but I just use it off the barn. Okay, this is where the staple gun has jammed up where I always had the wrong size crown in it. At least I think that's what was causing it. And it starts back working. I get it back working. Now I'm still using the 732. It works, you know, but you are more likely to have, you know, where it jams up. And when I'm putting the wood to the wood, I use the 1.5 inch staples. I use the longer staples when I'm putting the wood to the wood. For the wire, I just use the 1/2 inch staples, and it's plenty long enough. It holds the wire to the wood good. It's all that's needed. And there is Boston, my father's dog. And you may notice the wheelchair in the background. That's my father's wheelchair. He's not crippled, but last year he did fall. He has 2 artificial hips that he's had for a long time. But last year he fell and he broke one of his artificial hips, and it was a big, you know, it's a big mess. So anyway, where he takes high blood pressure medicine and all, there's certain times that I just feel more comfortable for him to be in the wheelchair. But like I said, he's not an invalid. He can walk and all. And I want him to walk as much as he can, but at the same time, I don't want to risk what happened last year. Okay, back to the subject at hand. I'm putting the wood on top of the wire. And it's the side wood I'm putting on top of the wire and on top of the bottom pieces of wood that stretch all the way across. The 4-foot pieces of wood I'm putting on top to connect together. And for some reason there, the staples just fall out of the gun. I'm not sure what happened there. Sometimes I swear we got gremlins that does weird stuff. Probably it's more my stupidity than gremlins, but I always blame the gremlins. And then a lot of weird stuff does happen around here. So. It may say in the gremlin, so I just use the word gremlin, not that it's actual gremlins, but I just use that term. But there is some weird stuff that happens back here. I have no idea what causes it. But saying gremlins did, that's just a way of saying, well, that was weird crap happening. Okay, I'm nailing. Okay, I turned the wood over. You may have noticed. the video of the wood being turned over somehow wasn't put in the final edit. But anyway, I have the wood turned over from where I originally was working, so that you can see the wire on top of the side pieces of wood. And I'm stapling the wire to the side wood there. And you want to put plenty of staples in. You want to make sure, you know, that the whatever animal that you have can't easily push through. I go to the other side, and I do have the wood turned over from where it originally was. I did not show me. Okay, here I go and jump forward. This is where I have the panel finished, and I'm tying it to the place where I'm replacing fencing. I use electric wire to tie the panels to the post. When I say electric wire, it doesn't mean that the wire is electrified. It's not. It's just the same wire that I used at the top of the fencing. And of course, when I have it at the top of the fencing, and I use the things to insulate it so that, you know, it's not touching the other wire. In other words, I want to make sure that it's not grounded out. I put the electric wire at top on part of the fence, not all of the fence. I generally do not keep the goat fencing electrified, though I probably should. It probably would cause me less problems. For the goats, you'd want it not at the top, though. You'd want it to kind of toward the bottom, because the bottom is where they're more likely to work their way loose. Well, horses, you want the electric wire at the top. But for like if you're just using only using electric wire, you'd want about 4 strands for the goats, and then they probably still work their way out. In other words, you kind of really need regular fencing for goats, because especially if you're like us, and you got different sized goats. And this is where I'm pounding the post in because I need an extra post. One thing that when we originally were fencing some of the pins in, you know, it's really hard ground, and the time, I put the fence post way too far apart, and that's really not a good thing to do. It causes problems in the long. It really doesn't save you in the long run. But when you're tired and you want to get it finished in as fast as you can get it finished, the tendency is to want to spread the post out. But you know, when you do that, you just go back and add more posts where you discover you need more posts in that particular section. And this is a goat pin. This isn't a horse pin. And there I'm showing the panel. I'm showing the panel. And it's kind of on the flimsy side, but I think it will hold up for the goats. And that's all. And much thanks for watching. And subscribe if you want to. And give me a thumbs up. Please don't give me a thumbs down because I am a sensitive soul. I have a sensitive heart. Be sweet. Thank you. Thank you a lot.